What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to share a piece of advice. I actually was cleaning up some segments of my book today, and I was writing on resistance and rebellion and how that rebellious type can end up really backfiring for us. And so today I want to share with you, I put in my stories, the worst advice that I've ever gotten from a coach. So before we get started, I want you to go ahead and let your friends know what's up, let them know what we're talking about. And if I say anything that you find is impactful, just drop your comment below. I'm like, oh my gosh, she dropped some diamonds on here. And also go ahead and tell me in the chat box, what is the worst advice that you've ever gotten from somebody that was in an authority or leadership role, that if you could go back and reframe it, you totally would. But at that moment in time, you had put in that person up here and trusted in everything that they said. So today I'm going to talk about the worst advice that I've ever gotten from an authority figure, the worst advice that I've ever gotten from a coach. And so I remember when I was playing ice hockey and I did this tryout. This tryout was like a really big deal. It was more of like an elite level of when I started to really scale in my training as a playing ice hockey as an athlete. And so my background is I was an athlete, and I go to this training camp, and we were planning to get into this trainer camp for like Olympians and Olympic type of like that type of elite status. All right. And I'm in training camp, and they were only choosing 2 people to take to the next level. And I thought the tryouts were amazing. I thought I did amazing. I scored a few goals, big team player, super fast, very much like interactive with the team. And at the end of the tryout, they gave us reviews and they gave us feedback and they let us know who got it. So, what I ended up getting done is I had a one-on-one with one of the recruiters or the people that came to test us in the training camp. And he was like, what I recommend you do to really get yourself to a new level is I would get involved with multiple sports and be an overall well-rounded athlete. And in the moment, I looked at this person as, okay, this person's a recruiter for Olympians. And so maybe they know what they're talking about. And I'm open-minded, I'm coachable, right? So be very careful with where you're getting your information from. That year, I went back. I did not get picked. I ended up finding out later on that I was one of the top picks, but I didn't get chosen because I was younger and there was somebody else they wanted to give an opportunity to. When you start getting into higher level and higher rankings, and depending on the people that are judges or the recruiters, there's ways around everything. And so we have to be very mindful that it doesn't impact how we feel about ourselves, because sometimes it really is about a status thing. All right. So that's what I found out later on. So I go back that following year, and my dream was, okay, I'm going to play in the Olympics. I'm going to be amazing. I'm going to be the best like player. And I go back and I joined the track team. I joined what else did I join? I was on the swim team, and I played ice hockey, and I was training in the gym, and I just burnt myself out. I burnt myself out, and I was doing so many different things. And because I took that one poor piece of advice, probably the worst advice that I ever gotten at my younger years, one of many, but from a coach. And instead of the coach being like, listen, I'd really work on sharpening these skills, and I would really like focus it on here. And the first question, if I were recruiting people, like going back and looking at the situation from this part of my life, I'd go back and I would say, do you love this sport? Like, is this where your heart is? Like, are you in love with it? And my answer this time is yes. Like, that's all I did. When I was on the ice, I was off the ice, I was sharpening my skills. I was eating at a young age for performance. Like, that's where my mind was. And that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to play, in the Olympics. And I would have gone back and be like, okay, if you absolutely love what you do, stop dabbling, get very serious, focus on this one sport, and get your head on point. Because at that time, that was my only way of managing my anger. I had a lot of anger inside of me. And so what I would have done is I would have gotten a coach on the mental game. I would have gotten a coach for the mental game, and I would have learned about emotional intelligence. I would have learned about self-mastery, and I would have learned about how to operate at peak performance regardless of where my head was or what was going on in life, and how to stay super focused. I would have gotten into meditation. I was got to get into yoga, everything that would encompass sharpening my skills for the performance of being the top performer and getting me to the most elite segment of where I could go in my sport, because at the time there was no place to go, especially for women, but that. I'm going to save it. Yeah. And so that's the advice I would have given you. And as an entrepreneur, being an athlete and being an entrepreneur, there's not much of a difference. You are the athlete of your career, and you have to decide what level you want to play at and what you need to overcome and what skills you need to sharpen and establish and develop in order to be top tier. So as a coach, coaching to coaches and leaders, and being an athlete at a younger age, striving to be the best athlete I possibly could, the worst advice I ever got from a coach was try other sports. But I was so in love with that sport, I knew I didn't need to try any other sport, because if he would have asked me beforehand, have you tried other sports? I would have said, yes, I did softball, I did soccer, I did swimming, I did running, I did all these things, and I hated them and I quit all of them. The only one I stuck with for 9 years. And I would skip, like, it kept me so focused because it was my priority. So parties, not going to parties, I didn't mind, because I wanted to perform the next morning for practice. I wanted to be in the gym. Like, my priorities were so straight because I was so in love with what I did. And I want to give you this advice as a coach now today, and learning from poor advice from coaches as an athlete, just wanting to be the best and getting very poor advice, is if you are in love with what you're doing, learn how to master yourself. Learn how to master your emotions no matter what's going on in life. Learn how to operate at peak performance no matter what's going on in life. And learn how to really master all segments of the mental, physical, emotional, and even the heart, the spirit. All right. Learn how to get on your own winning team. Learn how to become an asset to yourself. And then decide if you are in love with what you do, if you are in love with if you call the sport of your career, if you're in love with the sport of your career, identify every single thing that you need to sharpen in order to become the most elite player in the line of work that you're doing. Decide what position you want to play in your sport, in your career. Decide how far you want to take the game. Do I want to be known as number one in my industry, or do I just want to play and get by? And that's totally okay. It's a decision. You make the decision of how far you want to go within your line of work, and what positions you want to play. Do you want to own the business, or do you want to be a part of a successful business? Do you want to be a support player? Do you want to play offense? Do you want to play defense? There are different challenges in every single different role, and no one role is above or below. Every single player must show up as their most elite self in order for the team as a collective to win. But everything also starts with a decision and taking personal responsibility of, how do I become the greatest asset? How do I become the best and most elite version of myself? And what do I have to overcome? And what skill sets do I have to establish in order to become that type of person that is going to win in life, that is going to be the top tier in whatever industry I choose to do? And so I wanted to share that one piece of advice. And something that I learned in yoga is one point of focus. So choosing one thing. So like I said before, for those of you just tapping in later, I was telling a story of when I wanted to go to the Olympics and I played ice hockey and I had tryouts and the coach told me to be an all-around athlete. It was the worst advice I'd ever gotten because it limited me from sharpening my skill set, sharpening my axe to becoming the best at one thing. And then if you're all over the place focusing on multiple different things, you're going to end up burning out. And one thing in yoga, which is the greatest thing they teach you, is to focus. We're in a society where everybody's claiming ADHD. ADHD is also the distractions. It's a practice. So if you want to become the best at what you do, you want to become the most elite athlete in your career and be known as either the best of the best, playing for the gold cup, playing for the championship, whatever you're playing for, it's a decision. You have to get clear on like, what skills do I have to hone in on? How do I sharpen my focus? And what things do I have to overcome in order to master whatever it is, a sport of my career that I've chosen? So get back in the playing field, you guys. Get back to whatever you're doing. Make sure you drop a comment below. I want to know, what is the worst advice you've ever gotten from a coach before? And how did you take that as a lesson and apply it now today to the life of to your career, to your life, in any aspect of that? Remember, every experience we've had, learn the lesson from it and then apply it and integrate it so that you don't have to learn the lesson again. And be very selective who you bring in as your coach, and be very selective on what advice you take from people. All right. So keep your head straight, keep your heart pure, keep your spirit up. I'm always in your corner, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Happy New Year. Peace out. And remember to look, feel, and show up today in your business, in your life, in your relationship as a most elite version of yourself. All right, you guys, I'll see you later. Drop your